Happy Wednesday, everybody. Mark Donaldson alongside Luis Miguel Echegaray. Today's topics, you know what? We don't really have any. We're just going to have fun for half an hour LME. We're going to talk about hot topics. We're going to preview the Champions League games that are coming up later today. Can they even go anywhere near as good as yesterday's? And we're just going to either agree or argue. How does that sound?
I love it, MD. I love arguing with you. It's fun because usually it doesn't happen. But like you said, let's have some fun.
We're going to start with start, bench, or drop. Now, the last time we did something like this, the two of us were kind of on the same page. So I'm going to wait to hear what you say and then just see what you've said and then try and find flaws in your argument, because the last thing people want for half an hour is us saying, oh, yes, I agree with you. What's the next one? We're going to start with one of the three that you have to start, one of the three that you have to bench, and one of the three that you have to drop. We've got a few of these. Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer. Go.
Mark Donaldson, we begin with such a hard one. Okay, I'm going to go based on what we're seeing right now, right? I know they're going to get harder, right? Because I feel that Rob Moore has not been kind to us today. But let's focus on these three. All right, Jude Bellingham, Phil Foden, Cole Palmer. Start one, bench one, drop one. I'm going to base this on what's happening right now. No disrespect to any of the three because they're fantastic. Here we go, MD. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
I'm going to start Phil Foden. I'm going to bench Jude Bellingham. I'm going to drop Cole Palmer. Phil Foden, 22 competitive goals so far this season. 6 from outside the box. That's his record for him alone. And it's more than that. He's having a Messi-esque campaign right now. He's delivering from all angles, all aspects. He's an X factor for Manchester City, which is obviously the defending champion in 3 competitions. I love Jude Bellingham. Who doesn't? But right now, you cannot not start Phil Foden. And I'm sorry, Jude, I'm benching you and I'm dropping Cole Palmer. I know Chelsea fans are already tweeting, emailing, messaging me, but you cannot deny the greatness of Phil Foden, Mark Donaldson. What say you?
You're wrong. That's what I say. Phil Foden's at his best when Kevin De Bruyne doesn't play, because he can play that role and he's magnificent at it. But 2 into 1, yes, it goes, but he's the 1B to Kevin De Bruyne's 1A. Jude Bellingham, all day long, you start in this one. For one of the best teams in the world, he's having the season that he's having. I think I do agree with you that Cole Palmer, who was let go by Pep Guardiola, and you and I had this discussion that because Kevin De Bruyne, because Phil Foden were both in front of him, that's why he ended up going to Chelsea. Look, without Cole Palmer just now, goodness knows where Chelsea would be. So yes, he would be the one that we drop, and we wouldn't want to because he's a brilliant player, but we have to. We have to start one and we have to bench one. But as much as I love Phil Foden, you cannot start him ahead of Jude Bellingham. So starting Bellingham.
This was such a hard start, MD. It was difficult.
But it's going to get harder. It's going to get harder. So we're going to go back, and this is when you youngsters can ask your folks or ask your older friends about who some of these players were. I think you'll remember all 3 of these, though. Thierry Henry, Alan Shearer, Wayne Rooney. Start, bench, drop.
Oh my goodness, what a way to keep going here. The golden era of the Premier League, of course. I have had the pleasure of meeting all 3. Alan Shearer is actually...
Oh, you can't... Whoa. Stop. You can't make it about you. How on earth can you turn this into, oh, I've met them? And don't get me wrong, is that a photo over your shoulder of you and Messi? Oh, you haven't mentioned that yet either.
Yeah, we went out to dinner after that. Can I mention that? Is that right?
No. You can't say, oh, I've met all 3. It's got nothing to do with this. Stop making it about yourself.
Fine. 3 fantastic, great strikers. Thierry Henry took me on vacation. No, I'm just kidding. All right, here we go. I'm going to listen. Alan Shearer is the Premier League goal scoring record holder right now with 260 goals. Harry Kane have gone to Bayern Munich, so Alan Shearer's record should stand, of course. Wayne Rooney in his heyday, my goodness, what an absolute player. A golden boy turning himself into a star. I'm sorry, you have to start Thierry Henry, who in my opinion is one of the greatest footballers this game has ever seen. And I have to, just because of this game, Mark Donaldson, I have to bench Alan Shearer. 260 goals. You said at the beginning, youngsters, I don't care what you think. Alan Shearer was one of the purest finishers this game has ever seen in every facet of the way. Yes, his celebration was a little bit boring, but my goodness, could he score a goal? I'm going to bench him. I'm going to drop Wayne Rooney, Mark Donaldson. What say you?
Oh, I agree. I agree with everything that you've said. And this is one, because it's funny, the way that they're written, I kind of went down this list, and we'll get to the rest of them shortly, and I thought, that's probably the right order, the way it is. It was for the first one, Bellingham, Foden, and Palmer. For me, for this one, yep, I'm starting Thierry Henry, not just a genius, not just a wizard inside the box, but a team player, could link up. Just, you didn't know what you were going to do next with Thierry Henry. Alan Shearer, brilliant goal scorer. Wayne Rooney, I mean, coming on the scene with that wonderful goal for Everton, with his first goal that commercial doesn't tire of showing, and no wonder. But yeah, it's a tough one, but I agree with you. So when we agree, there's no further chat. We move on. We want
Love
some
it.
agreements here.
Let's keep going.
I've got a strong opinion on this one. The 3 R's, the 3 Brazilians, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho. What do you got?
Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to make this very quick. Rivaldo in his days was probably one of the most creative, lethal, non-strikers, non-natural strikers the game has seen. Anybody needs to go on YouTube and watch the hat-trick he scored against Valencia back in the day. It's probably one of the best hat-tricks you'll ever watch. Ronaldinho, I mean, you can go on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and watch the millions of highlights, Champions League winner, World Cup winner, but Ronaldo, phenomenal. Mark Donaldson is a nostalgia one for me. In my opinion, growing up, he was a hero of mine. To me, he is the most prolific striker, the most multifunctional striker we have ever seen. And were it not for the injury-ridden times that he suffered, it was almost 3 years where he couldn't even play because of his knee, we would have seen much more. But what Ronaldo did to this game when he entered it, he completely revolutionized the way everybody thought a number 9 was going to be. So I'm going to start Ronaldo phenomenal. I'm going to bench Rivaldo because the youngsters need to know how good he was. And I'm going to drop Ronaldinho. Somebody kick me out of the stream, Mark Donaldson. What say you?
You're going to drop Ronaldinho, you're going to bench Rivaldo. Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay, this is simple for me. It's Ronaldo, and I'd love one day to actually find out the true story about what happened in the 1998 World Cup final with the on the team sheet, off the team sheet name. What on earth is going on for Ronaldo? It's simple because Rivaldo is ostracized. He's sent off. He's never allowed to play again for what he did against Turkey at the World Cup in 2002 when it kind of gets hit here and he's like, oh, my face. No, gone. So I agree with the two. I agree with you with Ronaldo, but Ronaldinho for me is on the bench.
Yeah.
Here's another one. Zidane, Pirlo, De Bruyne.
Oh, my God. Okay, I mean, listen. If you want to translate classical music into football, that's Zinedine Zidane. Everything that he did was art. His first touch might as well have been in the Louvre, not just the Louvre, but it might as well a museum all in its place. He's a Champions League winner. He's a World Cup champion. He's a leader. He was a dancer on the pitch. He scored goals, majestic goals at that, of course, and he created and assisted. He was an absolute artist. I'm going to start Zinedine Zidane. How can you say anything bad about Andrea Pirlo? Andrea Pirlo was probably one of the greatest free kick takers aside from Juninho Pernambucano in the day. And what he made into passing was something that not many people ever saw. He made everything so effortlessly. So I'm going to bench Andrea Pirlo and I'm going to drop Kevin De Bruyne just for the fact that I'm sorry, I'm going to go with my nostalgia and the historical biographical connotation that the two above him has achieved so much more. I know De Bruyne is incredible, but I cannot not start Zidane and I cannot not bench Pirlo. That's how I'm going to go. How about you?
You got a yellow card for historical, whatever it was, connotation. I'm not having any of that nonsense. It's easy, this one. Zidane's top.
Number 1.
Pirlo's bumped. He scored against Scotland and ruined my first ever trip to the San Siro with a free kick from 30 yards. It was a brilliant goal, but behind the goal, it was just like, come on. So Kevin De Bruyne gets on the bench for that one. Next one, Grealish, Benteke, and Milner. You're like, what? Apparently the 3 most expensive Villa exitees ever.
Yeah, and Jack Grealish at the time, the British transfer record, of course, when he went to Manchester City. I'll make this very quick. Christian Benteke is adored by Aston Villa fans, and especially in his day. Benteke himself called it the best moments of his career during, a time when Villa were going through the ups and downs, and Benteke was the only shining light. 49 goals in 101 matches for Aston Villa, but I'm going to bench him. James Milner, by the way, when he first entered Villa, was because it was a loan swap with my Peruvian Alberto Solano. So just like you have your little emotional relationship with Pirlo in Scotland, I have the same one with Milner. I love what Milner did, but I'm going to drop him. Jack Grealish, he joined the club at 6 years old, for crying out loud. Made his debut at 18. more than 30 goals, more than 45 assists. And ever since he made that debut, 18 years old, he was never dropped. I mean, he was just a hero, a hero. I remember writing an essay about Grealish when he left for Man City. So I'm going to start Jack Grealish. There's no doubt about it.
Okay, for me, I don't care. I have no interest. You've put Villa in this and you've not put Hearts in. Not only do I not care, you're also not allowed to talk about Ashley Young, Gabby Agbonlahor, and John McGinn as the next three. We're running out of time.
Well, you might like my answer, though, MD.
Well, just give me one.
Well, I'm starting McGinn.
Good.
I love that man so much.
Sir John McGinn, captain of Scotland at the Euros when we win it in the summer. Two more to go for this. Then we'll go on to the hot topics of the day. Maldini, Zanetti, and Cannavaro. Wow.
Oh, my God. Okay. Listen, I mean, here's where young people really need to just be quiet. These three players are the essential embodiment of defending, honestly. So for me to even try and attempt to pick one over the other is almost impossible, but I'm going to try. Javier Zanetti was a hero for Inter Milan. There's no doubt about it. And Cannavaro can easily be described as one of the top three center backs the game has ever seen. But Paolo Maldini was the greatest left back we will ever see. He completely redefined the position. He was strong. He was a warrior. He led not just AC Milan, but also the national team. He was everything you want in a footballer. I'm talking about more than 900 appearances for Rossoneri over the course of a career, which, by the way, included, just a measly 5 Champions League medals. This man is one of the greatest players, never mind defenders, ever. So I'm going to start Maldini. And here's just difficult, man. I guess I'll bench Cannavaro just because of what he gave as a center back. And if I have to drop Zanetti. But I feel very bad about it. But Paolo Maldini wins this one hands down.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the one thing about Cannavaro, there are some countries that he wouldn't even have been given the opportunity as a youngster to play because he was too small. So to be as good as he was at the height that he was, I'd bench him. But Zanetti was brilliant as well. Last one. This is kind of from a managerial perspective. Xabi Alonso, Roberto Di Zerbi, or Jose Mourinho?
There's like 3 versions of Jose Mourinho. Which one are you giving me? I mean...
Your choice.
I mean, if I go with the old school Jose Mourinho, he might win this one.
Of course.
Yeah.
But he's got the baggage that he's had since old school Jose Mourinho. And that weighs him down a wee bit.
Exactly. He's like a long forgotten ex-wife. So I'm gonna drop Jose Mourinho. Wow. I'm gonna actually focus a lot more on Xabi Alonso because what he's doing with Bayer Leverkusen is not just about Bayer Leverkusen. People need to understand the trajectory of what this man is doing so far, specifically when he began his coaching medals at Real Sociedad and kept on building. And what he's doing at Bayer Leverkusen is more than just amazing because of the fact that they're a win away from winning the Bundesliga for so long. It's the way that he manages and the way that he's so calculative, and he's essentially, to me, one of the smartest managers that I've seen in modern history of the game. Roberto De Zerbi is the same, but I see something about Xabi Alonso that I really like, and I can't wait to see what happens in the future with or without Leverkusen. So Xabi Alonso, to me, one, I'm going with De Zerbi on the bench. And Mourinho, like you said, because of all that baggage, I have to drop you, Jose. I'm sorry. Okay,
I'm going to end it with keeping and starting Jose Mourinho, because despite the baggage, he's got the medals, and it's the show me your medals. Now, Xabi Alonso's about to get a Bundesliga. He might get a Pokal, probably will, and he might get a Europa League. Roberto Di Zerbi, Sassuolo, others, now at Brighton, doing well. No medals yet. That's all about what you could be. If you're going for what it might be, if you're buying the teenage prodigy, hoping they'll become the best in the world, fine. But show me your medals. Mourinho wins this one.
Show me your medals. I love it.
Show me your medals. Hot topics. This made me think, and I like things that make me think. If you could have any Wrexham-type documentary of a football club, who would it be that hasn't already been done?
Oh, I can't wait to hear your answer.
And I've got a good one.
All right. Well, I'll make sure to get that one after I say mine. I think that you need 3 ingredients in order to make a really good Wrexham-esque documentary. I think Sunderland Till I Die is another good one, only by default, right? But I think, 1, you need personalities, and that's whether it's people in the club or communities. Number 2, you need a project right? Something that you're seeing, whether it's a successful one or a failing one. You need to see the idea of something trying to be built, and then you need controversy. You need some kind of drama that's going on, whether it's self-instilled or it's coming externally. You need those three. And that's why Till Sunderland Till I Die was so good, because it was meant to be this triumphant return to the Premier League, but instead it went to League One. So all these things were happening. So with that being said, I would actually love to see like a really in-depth, non-biased look at Chelsea as soon as Todd Boehly arrived. I want to know exactly what happened in that club, how he led the board meetings, what he wanted to do, et cetera, because I bet you there were a few turning heads, but nobody said it. On the other side, Everton would be a good one as well, just as they deal with the financial fair play and sustainability regulations. And then I would go 180 and try and go to South America. Give me something from, the Brazilian league, or a real in-depth look at the Argentinian league that's not just about River Plate or Boca Juniors. I think that I would love that. But you need personalities, controversy, a project, some drama, and there you have it. What do you have, MD? Who do you want?
I agree with what you need. You need something to be interesting. Now, I'm going through the Man City documentary on Netflix right now. It's all right. Does it tell me anything I didn't already know? No. It was basically filmed by the in-house crew, and Man City probably had the final say over what went out. That's boring.
It's a promotional ad.
Of course it is. And it's fine. I'll watch it because it's success. But for me, success in documentaries, no. Unless it's success that's unexpected. If it's success that's expected, doesn't interest me whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I've gone way back. Right? I've gone back to 1999 when a group of pals got together and they said, you know what? First of all, who's buying the beers? Right. So it wasn't in Scotland. Then they said, you know what? Let's make a football team. Let's make a football team. Yeah, we all play kind of casually anyway. Let's make a football team. Right. What we're going to call it? Well, we're from Dorking, so let's call it Dorking Wanderers. Okay, fine. So since then, they've got the same manager, Mark White, who I learned about this story on a podcast recently, and it's brilliant. They have had 12 promotions in 23 years. They have gone from the very bottom tier of the English pyramid, and they have scooped the mess from various animals off the pitch to enable the game to go ahead. That's how low they were. They are now in the 5th tier of English football. They are one step away from being in the top 4 leagues in England. The problem is they're about to be relegated. Never happened to them before. But the stories that come with that, it's like a tell me more. Tell me more about these Sunderland players. Tell me more about these Wrexham players. Tell me more about the fans that go along, the committee members, the volunteers. Lots of chat there to do with that. So Dorking Wanderers is my team. Simply,
I love it. I love it. And it fits the recipe that we're talking about. You need personalities, drama, controversy. I love it. Better than my Alianza Lima tip that I was going to give as well. So that's good.
Okay, next hot topic. Kobe Mainoo should start for England at the Euros. He turns 19 next week. What do you say?
Yes, 100%. He makes a great partnership with Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham right in front of him, Phil Foden on one side, Cole Palmer on the other one, Harry Kane up front. It's a no-brainer. I don't care about his age. He's already shown it. He's already shown so much at what he can do. And yes, we can go on and on about international experience and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm sorry, England, do you have a resume to prove that you have done it other way and it proved to be successful, aside from, when you made it to the final in Euros but lost to Italy? No, I'm sorry. A player like Mainoo can really help complement not just the entire setup, but Declan Rice next to you. I mean, this kid, MD, when you watch him play, he doesn't play like his age. No. He plays like he's been playing in the Premier League for 15 years. But it's more than that. He's composed, artistic in his ball movement, creative, sees the ball. And listen, England is deep enough to take this kind of gamble, I think. So yes, I would start him.
Form over favoritism. It has to be. He has to go. He has to start as well. Because what are the other options? You could play Trent in there, but Trent's been injured. Hopefully he'll be back in a week or two. And he's basically a right back or a defender.
Yeah, exactly. It's a different type of position.
It is. It is. So I take him and I start him. We're both agreed on that one. This is a really good one as well. The eclipse happened this week. What's one thing in the football world that will not happen again for at least another couple of decades?
Man, this is a good question.
Isn't it?
When our producer Rob Moore asked it, I've been scratching my head about it because we could go in many directions. I guess my answer has to be monetary driven, because what Leicester City did in the Premier League in 2017 was unbelievable. I don't think we will see it again for that amount of time, because one, it was so magical in its journey, but at the same time, it was at a period where even the financial monsters were trying to deal with the complexities of the scheduling. Tottenham, of course, had a wonderful season. They couldn't do it. And Leicester City, who were like before Christmas time, were being talked to being relegated. And then they won the Premier League. I don't think you'll see that in 20 years, just because, as you can see, aside from depth and talent and managerial prowess, money drives a lot here. And I think that it's going to be very difficult for any sort of mid-table type of club, or a club that was trying to stay in the table, win the Premier League. I don't think you'll see that for a while. What do you think?
I had a tongue-in-cheek answer for this one. Then I read it again. It says that won't happen again, because the tongue-in-cheek answer without the word again would be, will we see any potential penalties from Manchester City announced in the next 20 years? Not too sure the way things are going on. And they might be innocent. Again, will we find out the outcome of the Manchester City 115 charges in 20 years? But that hasn't happened yet, so it can't happen again.
Yeah.
So I've gone north of the border to my homeland, and I mention as when I can about my football team, Heart of Midlothian, right? So my answer here is that I don't think it'll happen again for another 20 years, at least, that another team outside of the old firm, Celtic and Rangers, will win the Scottish Premiership. And it's dull. It's boring. In which other league can you only aim for a cup? Because before a ball is kicked that you're not going to win the league. Now, here's the other thing as well. I've spoken many times on radio, on TV, on various things over the years about, would Celtic and Rangers in the English Premier League work? Of course it would work. But they're not wanted right now. If they were, they'd go and get them. And they're not needed. And that's the other thing. They're far too big for Scottish football, because they don't really want to be there, either of them. Because look what Rangers and Celtic have done in European competitions. Okay, so of course they'd be good down in England. They would want to test themselves against better sides. But I would want my team and other teams in Scotland to have a chance of winning a league title. Aberdeen in 1985 were the last team to do it. Do you know who their manager was?
Tell me.
Sir Alex Ferguson.
Well, there you go. That's right before he went to United. Excellent.
It's been that long.
Our theme is similar then, really, isn't it? It's about, the dominating, lengths to what the giants of respective leagues go to. And we talked about the fact that if Rangers and Celtic went to the Premier League, where would they end up? And obviously a lot depends on how they manage within that off season and, the transfers that they bring in. But, it wouldn't be relegation. It wouldn't be Champions League. But
no, if they're able to get the same amount of money that the top teams are getting on a level playing field, they'd be competing. What would they be competing for? Well,
and there will be, as you said, a lot more balance in the Scottish Premiership. So there you go.
Okay, 3 more before we get on to our final UEFA Champions League predictor. Rasmus Højlund will win a golden boot in the Premier League one day.
Not before Ollie Watkins. I mean...
That wasn't the question.
Well, one day, he's young enough. I think it depends a lot on the kind of support that he gets. He's very talented. And he just arrived to the Premier League, and he arrived at a time when United are still trying to figure out what to do, not just with the club itself, but Erik ten Hag, etc. So everything is there, for him to be a star, but it's all very dependent on what happens in, I would say, the next 5-6 months, and see, does Erik ten Hag stay? If he does stay, what happens within the squad? But in terms of his own individual ability, one day, can he win the Golden Boot? Erling Haaland, can he have an off season? And by his standards, what is an off season? I mentioned Ollie Watkins, of course. Mohamed Salah, will he see the final, year or years of his Liverpool contract? There's a lot at stake here, but he has the characteristics to do it for sure. But a lot is dependent on what's around him.
Yeah, I agree with that. And can Manchester United be any worse than they are right now? Can they be any more unpredictable? So if they've reached rock bottom as far as where they are in the Premier League, and they're only going to get better, then they're going to get more goals, they're going to get more chances, and maybe, I don't know, is the answer to that. Penultimate one, Phil Foden, Premiership or Premier League Player of the Year.
You
If
know,
not, who's better then? If not,
well, I mean, this is, I would say, just like the title race, MD. I think that the fight for who will win the Premier League Player of the Season is pretty tight as well, because you can go in a few directions. I mean, what happens if Arsenal win the league? Declan Rice has a very good stance here to say that he did it, because it's more than just goals and assists, right? How about Rodri if Manchester City do it? Mohamed Salah, he's still up there in terms of goals. Erling Haaland is leading the Premier League goal-scoring table, despite the fact that he didn't do what he hasn't done last season. Ollie Watkins, I've already mentioned. Cole Palmer, of course. But Phil Foden, he is definitely in my top 3, if not top 2, to win this thing. I think, again, a lot depends on what's going to happen in the next month and who will win the Premier League, but nobody can deny that his season has been remarkable. But I want people to take a look at these numbers that we're talking about, both defensively and offensively, because there's a lot of players, MD, that can really live up to the list of the Premier League Player of the Season. It's not just Phil Foden, but he is definitely up there. And my goodness, what a wonderful season he's had.
yeah, and he's got to be in contention. One of my bugbears is that Player of the Year, Manager of the Year, a lot of the time it's decided before the trophies are handed out. So you're asking journalists, especially for the football writers, to hand in their Player of the Year, Manager of the Year in March or April.
Yeah.
Very difficult. So again, should it be that the Player of the Year belongs to the title winners? No, I don't think so. Phil Foden, regardless of whether Manchester City win the title, has got to be up there with a claim of being the best player in the Premier League this season. And the last one, Bayer Leverkusen will not repeat as Bundesliga champions next season.
Why not? I don't think so. I think Xabi Alonso has said he's going to stay at Bayer Leverkusen. This is not a fluke of a campaign.
No. They're unbeaten. They haven't lost a single game. 41
and they've done
matches.
it in style. I think what people need to understand is that there's a difference in winning a campaign and winning it the way that you want to win it. And that's what Bayer Leverkusen is doing. They're not doing it because they're relying on other things, which obviously includes Bayern Munich's inconsistency or Borussia Dortmund's, of course. Xabi Alonso is doing it the way he wants to. By the way, in a season where he had to say goodbye to a few key players, including Moussa Diaby, right? This is a manager that's leading and one win away, right? They win against Werder Bremen, or Bayern Munich, unsurprisingly lose on Saturday, and then they would win the Bundesliga. They can do it again. Now, it obviously, again, depends a lot on the market in the summer and what happens with Bayern Munich, and no doubt they'll be coming back with a vengeance next season, including Borussia Dortmund as well. But no, I think Bayer Leverkusen can do it right now, because now they've set a new standard for themselves, not just the Bundesliga. They can totally do this again.
I was looking at a comparison, Bayern Munich this season and last season. There were 13 games that Bayern played last season that they didn't win. This season, 9 so far. But the difference is they won the title last year with 71 points. Bayer Leverkusen have already got 76.
It's remarkable.
So I don't think is it possible? Anything's possible. I don't think it will happen that Bayer Leverkusen will have the same type of season in that 41 games is an anomaly, unbeaten. I also don't think Bayern Munich will be as bad as they have been. I was doing Leverkusen commentary at the weekend against Union Berlin when they won. And when we heard Bayern Munich were 2-0 up at Heidenheim, you thought, well, that's obvious, because that's just going to happen. That's what they do. Then Heidenheim came back and scored 3 to beat Bayern Munich. That doesn't happen. That shouldn't happen. And it hasn't happened over the 11 seasons that they won the titles. So
and the one
Bayern Munich will be better next season.
And also, Bayern Leverkusen in the Champions League will probably be just another thing that Xabi Alonso has to worry about. I'm not saying that he's not going to do it, but sometimes external factors like another competition, the toughest European competition out there, can be an influential thing. But you're right, Bayern Munich is not going to do the same thing they did this season. Well, let's hope for the case of Bayern Munich fans that they don't do it.
Okay, 2.5 minutes remaining. I need quality over quantity from you as we talk Champions League.
Oh boy.
Let's preview Paris Saint-Germain, Barcelona before we preview Atleti against Dortmund. First leg, who's going to win this one?
PSG is going to win this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you something. I see PSG in the final, actually. They
got the bottle.
Very sneakily, Mark Donaldson, Paris Saint-Germain, the Luis Enrique, are removing themselves from this galactical, star-studded, let's buy superstars for the sake of our brand type of identity. And in place, They're creating a very young. The team against Real Sociedad in the previous round was the youngest they've ever put out there in the Champions League. A very willing, smart, deep squad surrounding itself by Kylian Mbappé. I don't care if he's going at the end of the season. He wants something right now. And I'm not saying that it's a definite, but I think that especially in this first leg against the likes of Pau Cubarsí, who's a 17-year-old, he's a wonderful center back for Barcelona. But I just think PSG, they've got 3 World Cup champions as a trio of offensive liners. Barcola as well, Zaire Emery, Vitinha. This is a very, very good team. They haven't lost a game since they lost that game in November to AC Milan. So I see them winning this one. Now, the one in Barcelona will be tougher than this one, but I see PSG beating Barcelona in the course of 2 legs. Don't completely discount. This is not the same PSG we remember them with.
Still PSG in the Champions League. Can't have them. Barca going through. Atleti against Dortmund to wrap up. What do you think?
This is going to be that, that meme of Matthew McConaughey, like just going nuts. Like, this is going to be this game. Like, this is going to be an absolute physical, all-out gung-ho fest. And there's a lot of credit right now that has to be given to Diego Simeone, because I think like the fact that they're here competing in this kind of situation in the quarterfinals against Dortmund is remarkable. So I'll be very quick with this one. I think it's going to be tight, but I think there's going to be goals, maybe more so in the second leg. But I see Atleti winning this one and going through.
Okay, I think we're guaranteed a Spanish finalist, because I think Barca will beat PSG and Atleti will beat Dortmund.
Yeah.
I promise to have you out by 12:29. No more words, Your Honor. We are done. Goodbye. See you Friday.
I love you, Andrew.